Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be talking about the importance of mobility towards sprint performance. So there's quite a bit of differing opinions on whether you should be mobile or not. Some people say you shouldn't be mobile because your muscles, as an athlete, once you start to perform your sport for long enough, your muscles will ball up and get really tight and compact because that's how the fast twitch muscles behave, so that you're able to perform on your best. Others, and me agreeing with these other people, say mobility is important, though it shouldn't be confused with flexibility, which is something we don't want. We don't want to be loose, which is what you get for flexibility. With mobility, you're actively able to move into these positions, which is what we want. Now, it's quite understandable why people would think you shouldn't be mobile as a sprinter because it's quite strength-based and doesn't really seem like you need much mobility, whether that is anything but the truth. Reason being is if you was to try to get into the positions you're able to achieve at top speed without warming up, just naturally, just stand up and try and move your leg back as far as you can normally get it, or move your leg forwards as far as you can get. The forwards one you might be able to pull off, but the backwards, no way. And if you do pull it off, what you probably would have neglected to realize is you started to lean forwards to compensate for the positioning. If you was able to do that without compensating, well done. You don't really need this video. You're probably mobile, but make sure you are actually, your body, your waist and your upper torso is actually upright and it's not leaned forwards. You don't want to have your head facing down and your leg backwards. You want to actually have your body upright. If you couldn't pull that off completely straight, then you probably need to be more, you probably are lacking mobility, and this video is probably gonna be quite useful for you. So quite a few reasons why you actually want to be mobile. If you're mobile, the chances of you getting injured are decreased. If you can't get into the positions you're in whilst you're sprinting, I don't care whether this is the acceleration, the drive phase, top speed mechanics, just naturally with no warm up, then you're lacking in mobility. And if you can't pull that off, that means every single time you get into these positions, your chances of getting injured increase. So the further you get into your race, the chance of you getting injured increases. And if you're not relaxing during a race as well, those chances go up even more. So by being mobile, you're able to decrease your risk of injury, because if you can get into the position without warming up, your body is naturally able to get into that position. It's used to it, so it won't get injured if it's been in that position many times before. The muscles have already stretched and loosened up and become more mobile enough to actually get into those positions actively, because that's what's really important. That's what differentiates flexibility from mobility, but I have a whole other video on that. Now, the next thing would be to improve your muscular efficiency. So as you sprint, sure you're aware, you start with a crazy amount of energy. You might not really notice much for 100, maybe even 200 meters, but for 400 meters, you definitely can, because you have time to be in your head. You will come out of the blocks, you start with a lot of energy, and you just feel like you can just keep going. But then after a while, you start to slow down, and you realize that after 400 meters in a race of how fast or how long can I hold this speed, but it's how high can I decelerate from, how high of a top speed can I decelerate from. This isn't just a problem in the 400, it's a problem in the 2 and the 100. It's quite easy to fix this. Increase your muscular efficiency so you're able to do the same amount of effort with requiring less energy. It's as simple as input-output differences. Increasing your mobility will allow you to do this, because your body will just, since it's getting into these positions more often, it's going to have to adapt. And since it has time, it's actually spending time under the tension. It has actual time to start feeling out, adding blood flow and getting the adaptation. Because you might think, as long as I sprint, I'm going to increase my muscular efficiency, so I'm able to do more work with less energy, and I'm able to reach my top speed slower, hold it for longer, and decelerate later. But that's not true, because as you sprint, you spend less than 1.1 seconds, maybe if you're slower, at best 0.15 seconds under tension with each step you take. If you're a really fast sprinter, then you probably are under 0.1 seconds. So you're like, this is like sub 10 times. So you're probably spending 4 seconds with time under tension throughout the entire race. If you're slower than that, it's going to be even longer. But if you used to use that as an example, then you're probably spending about 40 to 50% of your time of the race under tension, when you consider that you're only under tension for a couple of seconds and you only do sprint training for so long, the amount of efficiency your body can give you, the amount of improvements that it can give you in this regard is limited. So making sure you work on your mobility, getting the blood flow into these muscles actively, not passively, actively, so that you can actually increase your efficiency and perform better is quite important. Next reason for mobility is to improve your positioning so you can actually produce more power. At top speed, that isn't really a problem because you're not trying to focus on these power positions. But when you're in your drive phase, you're trying to accelerate and get to your top speed. This is quite important because one of the big differences between an elite sprinter and not an elite sprinter would be their stride length. And this is specifically in the start in this regard. Because what you'll notice is maybe the first step, as long as they know how to actually come out of the blocks properly, maybe the first step of a sprinter who isn't elite is quite good. But the second step is quite small and tiny if you compare it to someone who's sprinting sub 10, for example. And being able to be more mobile so you can actually get into these positions and get more used to being in these positions, make it so you're much faster without even having to go onto the track for long. You just need to get into these positions, get more mobile, and then practice moving in these positions at top speed, and then quickly your body will adapt and you'll be able to move much faster. Now we're moving away from the drive phase and we're actually looking at top speed. Two things will affect your top speed. First one being stride frequency, how quickly can you turn over your legs, turnover rate. The second one being stride length. With mobility, you're able to increase your stride length, and this is quite important because to really achieve your peak speeds, you need to, at your top speed, not just have maximum stride rates, but maximum stride length. The only athlete, the most efficient athlete to have done this and ever have actually done this properly would be Florence Griffiths-Joyner, the 100 and 200 meter world record holder for women. No one else has ever done this, not even Usain Bolt, because what ends up happening is they have a long stride of quick stride rates, but once they get to the top speed and they start to decelerate, they focus less on stride rate because they're tired now, and they just widen their stride length so they can try and decelerate slower. What you want to do is hit top speed with peak stride length and peak stride rate. You want those to happen at the same time, and the only way you can really do that is by increasing your mobility and getting more used to doing this. And the only way you can do this is by increasing your mobility so you can actually increase your stride length. Because whilst this is a great goal to work towards, so you can hit your top speed whilst you have the widest stride length and your widest stride rate, the most important thing would be getting the stride length longer just overall. Not just that top speed, but whilst you're trying to get to top speed. So not just your drive phase, but throughout the rest of the race as well. And as long as you work on your mobility, this was going to happen. It's quite simple, to be honest. You have to look at the things that can actually benefit you, not what everyone else is saying, because what everyone else is saying might be useful, but if it's not useful for you, does it matter? But anyway, that's the video. If you liked the video, like. If you like my content, subscribe. I usually post every 2 days at 1 p.m. If you have any questions or any video suggestions, put those in the comments. Also check my description for my videos. I always have some interesting stuff there. Sometimes it's something that I've left out in the video that I forgot to include, so make sure you don't miss out on those.